Welcome to Rooted Reflections Episode 1. Hi, friends. My name is Tammy Miller with Resilient Roots Foundation. And each week we'll spend a few minutes looking through a different lens at children's behavior, their emotions, and their everyday struggles. My hope is that you'll leave encouraged, informed, and with a deeper understanding of the children in your life. So today, let's start with a word we hear all the time. We're going to jump right in with the word behavior. If I asked you to describe your child's behavior, what would come to mind first? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I believe that most of us don't immediately think about things like kindness, friendship skills, or how our child shows their excitement. For most parents, we usually think about the things that are challenging us right now in this very moment. Those things that we want to stop. Those are the things that get our attention most of the time. And a lot of times they're big. They're the tantrums, the arguing, the sibling conflicts, the struggles at bedtime, the not listening. What about the meltdowns in the grocery store? Please go ahead, I am, and raise your hand if you've ever had a child meltdown in the grocery store before. Put both hands up if you're in the grocery store right now with a meltdown going on around you. Don't worry, because you're not alone. Most of us have experienced several of these things. Most of these things. Again, when most people hear the word behavior, they think about the things they want to stop. We tend to focus on the behaviors that are causing us concern, frustration, and disruption. The things that are challenging, the things that leave us exhausted or wondering what to do next. Most of us as parents wonder what to do next. But what if behavior isn't just the things we want to stop? What if behavior is every way a child communicates who they are, what they need, and the skills that they are still learning? That's the lens I would like us to look through today. It's a different lens, not one that we always think about. One of the things I hear most often from parents is, my child doesn't really have behavior problems. And sometimes what they really mean is that their child isn't getting into trouble. They aren't having big meltdowns. They're not hitting. They're not being disruptive. Behavior is not just what gets a child in trouble. Behavior is everything a child does to communicate. It's also the healthy skills we hope children learn. A lot of times when we hear that word behavior, we think of it as a negative, and we don't really understand what behavior is. It can also be how they enter a room, how they make a friend, how they ask for help, how they handle disappointment, how they respond when they're nervous, how they show excitement, how they express frustration, how they let us know that they need connection and they're missing us. If you've spent any time with me or with Resilient Roots, you've heard me say this many, many times. Behavior is communication. Every day, children are telling us a story through their actions. The question is, are we listening to what they're trying to say? Behavior isn't just a child thing. When we hear that word behavior, we usually do think about children. But behavior is something children have. It's not just children, though. It's something all of us do, something all of us have. Think about your own day. We communicate all day long without saying a word most of the time. Our minds are constantly working, constantly following our surroundings and mapping what's going on around us. And if you're overwhelmed, you might become quiet. If you're stressed, you might become short-tempered. If you're excited, You may talk faster. If you're hurt, you may pull away from people. If you're nervous, you may avoid difficult conversations. Those are all behaviors. And you didn't even say a word. They're ways we communicate what's happening inside of us. And guess what? Children do the same thing. I don't know if you related to any of the things that I just mentioned, but one thing that I'll share is that when I'm nervous, I talk really fast. If I'm excited, you can hear it in my voice, you can see it in my face. But if I'm nervous, I do one of two things. I either avoid the situation and move back, kind of fade into the background a little bit. I think I learned that as a child. There were lots of things going around me when I was growing up and a young child, and I didn't always know what to do with those things. So I became a very quiet child who was one of those children that really never caused a problem. I turned into an adult who constantly wants to solve other people's problems, but I don't always share my own. But the other thing I had noticed about when I'm nervous is that I talk really fast. I get really fast. My words blend together, my thoughts blend together, and I don't always make sense when I'm nervous. So I either fade into the background or I talk a lot and make no sense. So anyway, I don't know what you relate to, but that's where I am. But you know what? Again, children they do the same thing, right? But the difference is they have fewer life experiences, fewer coping skills, and fewer words to explain what they're feeling. So their behavior often becomes their loudest or even their quietest form of communication. They communicate through their behavior, which means they're communicating through their actions. And a lot of times I'll repeat because they don't have the words to be able to communicate. A child who throws a toy may be communicating frustration. A child who refuses to join a group may be communicating anxiety. A child who constantly seeks attention may be communicating a need for a connection that they don't get. A child who never causes problems may be communicating uncertainty, fear, or difficulty speaking up for themselves. Behavior isn't just about what we see. It's about what's underneath. It's about what their actions may be trying to tell us. What's going on in their nervous system. Sometimes the children who concern us the most are the easiest to notice, right? They're the children having the big emotions, the children struggling to follow directions, the children whose behavior demands our attention. But there are other children we can miss. The children who always stand on the edge of the group, the children who rarely speak, the children who never ask for help, the children who watch. They watch everyone else's struggles. But I'm sorry, let me restart that sentence again. There you go. I jumbled up my thoughts. As I said, this is my first episode, so I'm a little nervous. But the children who watch everyone else but struggles to join in, those are behaviors too. And those are children who may need support just as much as the children having the meltdown in the grocery store. What I want us to start doing is looking beneath the behavior that we see on the surface. Look beneath the surface. When we begin to see behaviors differently, our questions begin to change. Instead of asking, how do I stop this behavior? We start asking, what might this child be communicating? What skill might be missing? Is their quietness helping them thrive or holding them back? What need might be underneath this? How can I help them learn what they don't yet know? Let me repeat that again. What they don't yet know. Children are also constantly mapping and trying to figure the things out around them and how to handle their world. Because most of the time, children aren't trying to give us a hard time, they're having a hard time. And I know as parents, as teachers, as anyone who has children in their life, we all want our children to succeed. And every skill we want children to develop, whether it's friendship skills, emotional regulation, problem solving, confidence, empathy. That's a big one that we don't all naturally learn. Self-control. These things all show up through communication, through actions, which is our behavior. The good news is the behavior is not something we simply manage. It's something we can teach. When we understand what a child's behavior is communicating, we can begin teaching the skills to help them thrive. And that's where growth happens. Not through shame, not through control, not through simply stopping behaviors, but through understanding, connecting, and teaching. As you think about the children in your life, I want to leave you with this question. What is one behavior you've been focusing on lately? And what might that behavior be trying to communicate? Thank you for joining me for this first rooted reflection. My hope is that together we begin to look through a different lens at children's behavior, emotions, and everyday struggles. Because when we understand what behavior really is, we stop seeing problems that need to be fixed, and we start seeing children who they are and trying to be understood. And we're able to meet them in those moments where they are. And sometimes that small shift changes everything. Until next time, remember, behavior is communication. Every behavior has a story worth listening to. Rooted Reflections, looking through a different lens at children's behavior, emotions, and everyday struggles.